Hey guys, Tony here from Tectonic Byte, and I used to be a really big Apple fanboy, but I just switched to the Pixel 2 after having the iPhone 6 for about 3 years. Back then, I used to think Apple was really revolutionary and I praised them all the time, and whenever my friends mentioned Android, I was genuinely disgusted. And now that I've been in the tech community for a while now, in retrospect, I really think that my past self was really closed-minded. So I decided to force myself to try Android if I'm going to be reviewing both Android and iOS devices. That's why I'm starting my journey on becoming a more unbiased tech YouTuber. But that's not the point of this video. The point of it is a comparison video of the iPhone 8 versus the Pixel 2. Please leave a like and subscribe. Let's begin. So in terms of design, you can see on the iPhone 8 that it has a full glass design on the back and it looks almost identical to the iPhone 6. On the front, there's really no difference. I think the display has a Retina HD display, which is a little bit better than the displays before, but it's not that much better. The glass back actually feels pretty nice. It's kind of slippery if you don't have a case or skin, and it attracts fingerprints so fast. Whereas on the Pixel 2, you can see that only the top third of it has glass, the bottom part and the sides are aluminum. And the aluminum feels really weird. It's kind of soft and really nice to touch, but it's not cold like the iPhone 6 was. In terms of size, they aren't really that different. The Pixel 2 is a little bit bigger with a wider screen and a bit of a taller screen as well, whereas the iPhone 8 is smaller and easier to hold if you have smaller hands. I prefer the Pixel 2 because it's bigger, the screen is bigger, and it feels much better in the hand than the glass. So in terms of performance, the iPhone 8 performs like a champ with the A11 Bionic chip. The A11 Bionic chip makes the phone a beast with multitasking, opening many apps, and I can have multiple apps open without any lag. I can go through all those apps multitasking. On the Pixel 2, the performance is sort of identical, where app launching is really fast, switching between apps is also really fast. But on the contrary, I find the Pixel 2 to be a little bit faster when launching apps. I think it's because the animation is a little bit faster, but if you prefer slower animations, the iPhone 8 is not that bad. But if you want everything really fast, the Pixel 2 is great. There's not much else to say since these are really new phones and they kind of perform about identically, so yeah. The Pixel 2, by the way, has the Snapdragon 835 processor, I believe, and it performs really well, and I think it also has 4 GB of RAM, and even with those specs, it's not a bad performer. So in terms of camera, the iPhone 8 produces a more natural color with really good sharpness, good exposure compensation, and it also has optical image stabilization for photos and videos. The iPhone 8 also records up to 4K at 60 frames per second, and that's extremely good for a camera, considering most cameras don't even have that feature. Whereas on the Pixel 2, you're gonna see a similar camera in terms of megapixels, but the difference is that the Pixel 2 generally produces more saturated colors, which some people like and some people don't. But I personally like it because you don't have to edit as much. And the Pixel 2 also scored a 98 on DxOMark, and that's extremely good for a smartphone camera. And it's actually the highest rated smartphone camera right now. So the Pixel 2 only records up to 4K at 30 frames per second, and it's not 4K at 60 frames per second, but it's still pretty good nonetheless. If you're not gonna do slow-mo video, it's not gonna be a deal breaker, but they're both really good cameras. In terms of optical image stabilization, they both perform pretty well. I haven't really had any problems with either of them, and if you wanted to pick a phone based off of camera, if you want a more saturated color, go for the Pixel 2, whereas if you want more natural colors, get the iPhone 8. So in terms of software, the iPhone 8 runs iOS 11, and it's pretty fast on the iPhone 8. On the iPhone 6 that I had before, it was extremely laggy, and I basically couldn't even launch any apps because it was so slow, and it was just crazy. iOS 11 on the iPhone 8 has been pretty good. Launching apps is really fast. I haven't had any bugs either, which is kind of weird, and it's been pretty good. Whereas on the Pixel 2, it runs Android 8.0, and it's also really fast because it has stock Android. So I thought that before, I thought that every Android phone would be all laggy and stuff, but that's all false because The Google Pixel 2 has stock Android, which is basically a clean version of Android by Google, and it's extremely fluid. Launching apps is really fast, and it's also really clean with the Pixel launcher. This is kind of personal preference, because if you prefer a really minimalistic look, you're probably gonna go for iOS. Whereas if you want a minimal look with customization, and you should probably pick the Pixel 2. Personally, I like both because the Pixel 2 allows you to do more with it, but iOS actually looks a bit more minimalistic and cleaner to me, but they're both really good softwares. In terms of battery life, I have noticed generally about the same battery life. On the iPhone 8, I've gotten about 1 full day of usage. That includes basic web surfing, social media, calculator use, using the camera, and more. On the Pixel 2, I've noticed generally about the same battery life, lasting about a whole day, and I usually end my day with about 15% while playing games, using the camera, and much more. So in terms of battery life, there isn't really a winner for this category because they're about the same in terms of my usage. So for speakers, the iPhone 8 has dual speakers technically, with the front-facing speaker on the top and the side-facing speakers on the bottom, and the Pixel 2 has 2 front-facing speakers. In terms of audio quality, they both sound really good and they get pretty loud as well, but I personally prefer the Pixel 2 because it has 2 front-facing speakers, whereas the iPhone 8 has 1 front-facing and 1 kind of side-facing. Here's an audio comparison test. So in conclusion, these phones are really good phones. The iPhone 8 has its good features, the Pixel 2 also has its good features, but it's kind of personal preference when you're choosing phones. Smartphones generally don't innovate much, including this iPhone 8, because all it has from previous generations is just better chips, better camera, better screen-ish, and that glass back, which is still kind of dumb. Nothing new about it really has changed. Whereas on the Pixel 2, you're going to see decent improvements from the Pixel with a much better camera, a new design. Since Apple didn't really innovate much on their iPhone 8, I decided to go for the Pixel 2 and try something new. The Pixel is very functional with all its features. You have unlimited photo storage, which I really like because you can store tons of 4K videos on it. Squeezing for Google Assistant is also very functional. The cameras are really good, the screen is excellent, and everything just works really well. And the same can be said for the iPhone 8, but the iPhone 8 is functional, but it's too expensive for all its features. So to end this video, the Pixel 2 is a really great phone. It comes in a bit cheaper than the iPhone 8, and it packs tons of features, a really good camera, unlimited photo storage, a really good fingerprint sensor, smooth stock Android experience, and the iPhone 8 comes in a little bit more expensive, comes with a glass back, really good camera as well, iOS 11, and the A11 Bionic chip. It's really just a preference of software, because if you want to try something new, I'd recommend the Pixel 2, but if you kind of want a minimalistic experience and a really solid experience, the iPhone 8 is also a really good phone. Thank you all so much for watching, and if you enjoyed, please leave a like and subscribe. Tell me your thoughts about the Pixel 2 and the iPhone 8 in the comments.